Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Asilbek Yusupov. I'm going to be your speaking examiner for today. Can you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Sardorbek Komilov. I usually go by my first name, so you can just call me Sardar.
Sardorbek, and your surname is?
Komilov.
Komilov. All right. And Sardorbek, what should I call you?
I guess you can just call me by my first name. You can call me Sardar.
Okay, Sardar. So, in this first part, I'll ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about music. What types of music do you like to listen to?
I'm not sure I have a particular preference in the music, so it probably depends on my mood. Sometimes I go for, I don't know, like some rock music or some pop. Well, at times I'm in the mood for some classical music, so it really depends.
Okay. Did you always like this type of music?
Not really. I became a rock fan after a recent concert. I attended a live performance back in December with my friend Homoyu, and the atmosphere was just electric. So it was basically something that I had never experienced before, and I became a huge rock fan. Prior to that, I have never been into rock.
Okay. And when do you normally listen to music?
When I have free time, I guess. So usually music serves me as kind of a soundtrack to my daily activities. You know, I like to do my household chores by listening to music. Sometimes when I'm commuting to my work, I listen to music.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how much time do you spend listening to music every day?
Again, that depends. So some days when I'm in the mood, I probably spend around I could spend as much as 3 or 4 hours, you know, and other times when I'm too busy, I probably would spend as little as 30 minutes. So yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the topic of money. When you go shopping, do you prefer to pay things in cash or by card?
Card, definitely card. It's so much more convenient nowadays, you know, because carrying cash is basically too much hassle. And nowadays, a lot of places have this special apparatus where they can you can transfer the money through the card, or they can basically withdraw the money from your card. So it's really easy nowadays.
Okay. Do you save money to buy special things?
I don't really believe in saving, to be honest. So I have always wanted to be in a position where I wouldn't have to save money and I could easily afford anything that I want to buy. And fortunately, I can tell that I'm at such a position where I don't have to think twice about saving money. So, yeah.
All right. Would you ever take a job which had low pay?
If you had asked me this question about a couple of years ago, I'd probably definitely say yes, when I was more idealistic and a bit more naive. But as I grew older, I realized the importance of having money. And so I guess my answer now would be probably not.
Would winning a lot of money make a big difference to your life?
Well, I guess it makes a lot of things much easier, to be honest. It would bring me closer to my plans. So, but I don't think it would drastically change my lifestyle or the way I treat people, or at least I hope it wouldn't, you know.
All right, thank you. So that's the end of part 1. Now we'll move on to part 2. In this part, I will give you a cue card, and your job is to discuss the topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Before that, you will have 1 minute to make notes. So, all right, now here's some paper and a pencil. And I would like you to describe an interesting discussion you had as part of your work or studies.
Wow.
So that's your topic.
Thank you.
You have 1 minute for this. All right, your time's up now. Please start speaking now.
Okay, so I'm a type of person who just can't switch off their brain even after work. So I always have discussions about my work or even about my education, even when I'm done with it. So one of these really engaging discussions was with my close colleague and close friend, Mr. Eldar. And basically went out to have something for a bite, to grab a quick bite. And I don't really remember how it started, but basically we got a topic of state of education, especially teaching English in Uzbekistan. And we both came to a conclusion that it was just abysmal. So we knew that something had to be done, and the way that English is taught should be changed in Uzbekistan. So the primary problem, the main problem that we identified with the way English is taught was the fact that it was too mechanic in a way, I guess. And we both agreed that it should be more natural. And by that we mean, I suggested that places that teach English should encourage students to spend more time on not just practice and memorization of grammar and formulas and structures, but rather more time on reading books, listening to music, or watching movies in English, which would make their language acquisition process much more natural and much easier. So he also raised a few good points and gave a lot of good insights, as he usually does. And the discussion basically culminated in our decision to do something about it in the future. Of course, we didn't really make up our mind about what to do exactly. But yeah, I guess it was quite an insightful discussion. And I'm happy to have such a person with whom I can share my thoughts and whom I can have this kind of thought-provoking discussions with. So yeah, all in all, I guess it was a really interesting conversation. And yeah.
Thank you. Your thumbs up. All right then. Now let's move on to part 3. Why is it good to discuss problems with other people?
Wow. I guess we as humans are social creatures by nature, and as such we tend to share our ideas, share our thoughts with other people. And besides, when you discuss the things that are on your mind, it makes it basically easier for you to come to some sort of decision or to come to a certain epiphany of sorts. So, and also it's always interesting to know what the other person is thinking, or what the other person, where the other person stands on that matter.
Okay. Do you think that it's better to talk to friends and not family about problems?
Depends on what types of problems. I guess there are some certain kinds of topics that it wouldn't really be appropriate or convenient to discuss with your family members. So, and there are other things that you probably might want to discuss more with your family. I'm talking about more private or personal things. So yeah, I guess it depends on the topic of discussion.
Mm-hmm. Is it always a good idea to tell lots of people about a problem?
I don't think it's ever a good idea to basically tell a lot of people about your personal problems or anything of that sort. I guess, I don't know, from my personal experience, I think it's better to basically have a small circle of people whom you can actually talk to. So yeah, I guess maybe like having 2 or 3 close people that you can discuss things with is better than just going around and telling everyone what's on your mind, you know.
All right. Now, let's talk about communication skills at work. Mm-hmm. Which communication skills are most important when taking part in meetings with colleagues?
Wow. Okay, so there are so many things that a good employee needs to have in order to basically bring benefit to the table, you know. So I feel like the basic thing is probably the ability to compromise. You have to be good at compromising, and also, I guess negotiation is also quite a useful skill to have nowadays, because you don't always get your way. So sometimes you have to compromise, and sometimes you have to, I don't know, like hold your ground, but you have to know where the balance is, where that sweet spot is. So I guess these 2 probably skills are the most important ones nowadays.
Okay. And what are the possible effects of poor written communication skills at work?
I guess misunderstanding. So it might result in a few misunderstandings if your writing skills are not really good. Imagine you're sending email to your boss, and you don't really communicate what you mean well. It might even result in you being fired from your job, so or at least being given a warning to. So I guess probably result in a misunderstanding of some sorts. So it's always better to kind of double check what you wrote, maybe to ask somebody else to proofread. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Okay. And what do you think will be the future impact of technology on communication in the workplace?
Wow, that's a hard one. So I guess if I were to take a period of, I don't know, like 20, 30 years, I believe even nowadays we're already seeing some developments in AI. And I've recently seen this, I don't know, like video where they're saying, where they show that you don't really have to know the language. This AI tool helps you to basically translate simultaneously as you're speaking. So I feel like it would probably make the job much easier, because you'll be able to communicate with people from other countries without having to learn their language. So I think that's probably one of the basic changes that we're going to see in the foreseeable future.
And what about any negative effects?
So I guess there will be a lack of human interaction, because those will be replaced by robots or by AI. So I feel like lack of human interaction would probably result in conversations being too robotic, too mechanic, And even nowadays, a lot of decisions are reached based on mutual understanding, based on, I don't know, like sometimes empathy and compassion. So I guess those things might disappear in the future as we move towards the age where a lot of things are done by robots and AI. So yeah, that'd be a real shame, but...
All right, so that's the end of our speaking exam. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, too.
All right, now let's break down this candidate's performance one by one. So if we start with part one, as you can see, he was able to answer every single question confidently, and he didn't give very long, complicated answers. And as you know, in part one, you shouldn't really give complicated, complex answers. You should just keep your answers simple and effective, and that's what he did. And as for part two, he was able to speak for 2 minutes, which was a really good sign, because after all, if you can keep going for 2 minutes, it means you are a confident speaker and you're really, really fluent as well. And part three, well, he did almost an excellent job, to be honest, because he was able to use high-level language and make his ideas really clear and articulate. Let's talk about the marking criteria. First, fluency and coherence. Fluency basically means you're able to answer questions without almost any hesitation, or even if you do hesitate, it's almost always natural. In this case, he did show some hesitation, but they were mostly natural. So they were, for the most part, okay. And when it comes to coherence, it basically means your answers are clear and they are directly related to the topic, which in this case was perfectly true once again. So it would definitely be 8+, but for the final score, you'll have to wait for a bit more. Let's move on to pronunciation. In this case, pronunciation basically means pronouncing all the words correctly, but not only that, but also using intonation, because even if you do pronounce all the words correctly, if you don't sound natural, if you sound like a robot giving a robotic speech, then in this case, you're not going to get even 7+. So our candidate did pronounce all the words correctly, but he was also able to use connected speech and intonation in the right times. Grammar. I didn't notice almost any single mistake he made. In fact, I noticed one mistake, but even when he did make that mistake, he was able to immediately self-correct. So that means he didn't make any mistakes and he was able to use complex language structures. When it comes to vocabulary, he did use a lot of collocations, idiomatic language, high-level and less common vocabulary. For example, he did use language acquisition process, which is a 3-noun word, a really, really high-level topic-related word. So for grammar and for vocabulary, I would definitely give band 9. The same can be said about pronunciation as well, but for fluency and coherence, I'm still hesitating because he did hesitate and some of it was a bit unnatural. So if you want to guarantee 9, like perfect band 9 for fluency and coherence, then you need to show hesitation only before you start answering questions. But once you do start answering the questions, you should not show almost any unnatural hesitation. So that's why in this case, I'm going to be a bit conservative and give our candidate 8, not 9. With that, our candidate would get 9 for pronunciation, 9 for grammar, and 9 for vocabulary, but 8 for fluency and coherence, which means his overall score would be not band 9, but 8.5. Still a really good score. And if he does manage to improve his performance just tiny bit, next time he can definitely get a perfect band 9.